Hello, everyone, and welcome to the July edition of ServeNowEDU. I'm Trent Carlisle, co-founder of Logical, the parent company of ServeNow and ServeManager, as well as PI Now. Today's topic is one that you're going to find extremely interesting and relevant regardless if you're a process server or private investigator. Joseph Jones is our guest today, and he'll be discussing social media investigations from the perspective of a process server. I'll introduce Joe momentarily. As a reminder, these webinars are recorded, so you can watch this one and past ServeNow EDUs on ServeNow.com, YouTube, and you can also subscribe in iTunes. This is sort of a part one in a two-part series on social media investigations. Next month, on August 25th, J.J. Gilburn, investigator with the Lawrence County, Missouri Sheriff's Office, will be our guest, and the title of his webinar is Computer Investigations and Use of Social Media. So make sure you go to ServeNow and register for that one. As I mentioned, today's guest is Joe Jones, Vice President of Bosco Legal. Joe is a licensed private investigator in the state of California and has certifications in open source intelligence. Joe's father started Bosco in 1980. He grew up in the family business and now runs the firm with his brothers. Joseph has a degree in psychology from California Southern University, is a member of the California Association of Licensed Private Investigators, the California Association of Legal Support Professionals, and the National Association of Professional Process Servers, as well as the National Council of Investigation and Security Services, and has received specialized training from the military, various law enforcement agencies, and the nation's top private intelligence firms. Joe is also a CalsPro certified process server and has served on multiple committees within that organization. Did I miss anything there on that bio there, Joe?
No, I'm thinking we might need to shorten that up a little bit next time.
I think we could keep going now.
Yeah.
So in regards to Bosco, before we get started on the content of this presentation, is there anything that you'd like to tell us about in relation to the services that you offer related to the content today, why you decided to offer that?
Yeah, I'll speak to it for a quick second. So we offer various attorney services, process serving, court filings, records retrieval, but we also do a lot of investigations. And I am specifically over our process serving and investigations divisions. And social media. The reason I wanted to do this one is social media has become such a huge part of our business. On both sides for the process serving and the investigations, and we'll get some more into it. Most of our clients are law firms, but we also do some work, for other process servers or private investigators who don't have the time or know how to deal with some of these, kind of specialized areas.
Awesome. Well, we have a lot of folks here today. We had almost 100 registered, and I think it's a topic that everyone is going to appreciate and find very interesting, whether it's just for general knowledge related to skip tracing, or maybe you want to offer this service directly to your clients, or even refer that business to an expert in the field. I'll let everyone know that you can certainly ask questions along the way. Joe will be sharing his screen, and he will be presenting the content. I will be monitoring all the questions that are in GoToWebinar, so if you have a question along the way, please feel free to ask a question in that questions widget in GoToWebinar. Again, if you've been to a ServeNowEDU webinar in the past, this will be recorded. We'll try to shoot you a link, hopefully by tomorrow, with the recorded content, screen grabs, any links to pertinent information, etc. So don't feel like you need to hastily take notes and get everything down. That will be available to you hopefully in the next 24 hours or so. So with that said, Joe, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to go through, do we have my screen up so everybody can see it?
I see it, yep.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to go through a lot of different things. Some of the stuff that we're going to be getting into may not apply to everybody, but certainly, you know, as we go through this, you're going to learn a lot of things that will hopefully, you know, help you in what you're doing. So the first thing that we're going to go over is talking about deep web searches and how to conduct them. As a preface to that, especially if you're working on the investigation side, one thing that you need to understand is that your internet browser grabs everything that you do. You know, especially if you're using Google, which you should be, it tracks everything that you're doing. So when you're working on investigations, you're going to want to start with a clean browser that doesn't have all of your previous searches in there. It doesn't have a lot of the stuff about your personal information. So the first thing I'm going to recommend doing is, if you're using something for investigations, you have a separate browser that you use. So if your normal browser is Internet Explorer, download Chrome and use that just for your investigations, or Firefox, or whatever you're going to use. And then once you get that new account established, you'll want to establish it with a new email address, which it takes 2 seconds to create. And then we're going to go in and we're going to adjust some of our settings on your new search. So to get there, you just go up here, Google/preferences. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to turn off the safe search. Now this is something that, you know, on my personal computers I always have safe search on because I don't want stuff popping up. But when we're talking about investigations, you know, a lot of time we're dealing with the underbelly of society, and so we need to be able to access anything regardless of whether or not it's safe. So that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to turn off safe search. Then we're going to change it so it says never show instant results. That's a simple thing that we do because it makes it easier to find exactly what you're looking for when Google isn't trying to auto-populate and tell you, hey, this is what you should be searching for. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to change our results to show 100 results per page. And that's just going to make it easier as you're scrolling through. And then the other, let's see, the other thing that we're going to want to do is, if you're able to, some browsers allow it, some browsers don't, but if possible, you're going to want to turn off location-based searching. One thing you may not understand is Google always knows where you're at, and it will filter the searches that you do based on where you're searching from. So my office here is in Riverside, California. If I'm searching for, you know, Joe's Pizza, it's going to look for Joe's Pizza in Riverside, even if I don't tell it Riverside. So if you can find a way to turn that off, that's great. So the next thing we're going to talk about doing is Boolean searching. So as you know, the internet, and we'll do a quick search here. We'll go to Google. Google's going to give you as much as it can. So we're going to search for me real quick. We're going to say Joseph Jones, private investigator. All right, and so when we search that, we're going to go up here to the top, and we're going to see that in less than a second, it gave me almost 1.5 million results. Now, you as the investigator, you as the process server trying to track somebody down, you don't have the time or inclination to search through 1.5 million results. So one of the things that we do that is quite effective is we're going to use quotations. So when you'll see what I'm doing here is I'm putting in quotes the terms that I specifically want to search for, and we're going to do a little plus sign here. So right now what I'm doing is I'm telling Google that I only want to see the term Joseph Jones in quotes, so as one term, and I want to see private investigator as one term. So doing that just dropped me down from 1.5 million to 1,370. So now I've got a little bit more manageable term to work with, and some other things that we can do here is then I'm going to show you if we replace this plus with an asterisk. So I guess first before I jump into that, I'll tell you that this will find anything on a web page where it has the term Joseph Jones and where it has the term private investigator anywhere on the page. So this next thing we're going to do is we're going to put an asterisk there instead, and that is going to filter us down to 8 results. So now I've gone through the entire web, all 1.5 million different results that could be associated, and boiled it down to exactly what I'm looking for. So here, there's my LinkedIn profile, some blog posts that I've done, my listing on Cal's Pro, some different speaking engagements I've done. So now we have exactly what you're looking for. And Joseph Jones is like one of the most common names in the United States, right? So using those simple key terms, we've been able to find exactly me. So this is totally invaluable. There's a lot of training. I've been to days and days of training just on the Boolean search logic, which you can Google and you can find lots of good stuff. But these ones that I showed you right here are really the ones that I use the most and I find most effective. So once you put something in quotes, that's going to make sure that whatever it's that it's only looking for that specific term. All right, so the next thing we're going to jump into now is how to locate social media accounts for people that you're looking for. So say you've got a skip trace that you're that's come through your door, and you're trying to track down this person, get some photos to help you with your surveillance or stakeout or whatever you're doing. Really the place that is best to start is with a database. Databases are great because they can provide us a whole lot of information in a short period of time for not a lot of money. For $2 to $20, you can aggregate all kinds of information on somebody that might take you hours doing these kinds of Boolean searches to locate. So I won't go into databases too much, but the things. Kind of our favorites are TLO, IRB, IDI Core. There's a whole bunch, out there that you can use, but those are a few that that you might want to look into. And the key with those, as we're talking about locating social media accounts, isn't necessarily that they will find the accounts for you, because my experience has been that none of them are very good at locating social media accounts, but it'll give you leads in order to track those down, typically by way of possible phone numbers and possible email addresses. So I'm going to show you a quick tool that I love that we use to locate people's Facebook accounts. And this works really well as a phone reverse search. So I'm gonna pull up my phone here. I had some really weird person call me and leave me a message earlier today. So I'm gonna punch in their phone number here and see who it belongs to. So right up here in the Facebook search bar, we're just gonna go type in the number 2261799 and see what pops up. Oh, hey Trent, how are you doing? So here's what we've got. When we punch it in, it's going to show us that phone number that we just punched in is associated with this individual's profile, which in this case our creeper is Trent. And one thing that's really cool about the way this tool works is his phone number isn't public. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to show you. So we go in, we're going to look at contact information, and he certainly has all of his work stuff here, but you're not going to see his phone number here because his phone number isn't public, but Facebook has indexed that so that we can search it. So that's a really great tool if you're trying to find somebody's account, especially if they've got a common name. If you just punch it in, you could spend hours sorting through potential hits, whereas that's pretty quick and it's free. Use it all the time. We've had several times. Anytime we get a threatening call from somebody, a case that we're working on, somebody's made a threat. That's one of the first things I do, because if we get hit with it, if they have a Facebook and it's linked to their cell phone, I can immediately send a picture to my client and say, hey, do you know who this person is? And we can start our investigation there. Another thing that we do when we're trying to locate accounts So Facebook, we've got a lot of different ways to search, which we'll get more into, some of those search methods with Facebook later. But one of the things that we've learned is that when it comes to social media accounts, people will typically have the same username across multiple platforms, right? So, if you're, Hottie Girl 22 on Facebook, you're probably going to have the same on Twitter, on Instagram, on Reddit, whatever you're using. So what we do is once we've found one account, so we've got facebook.com/Trent Carlisle. So up here you can see this is Trent's username. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy that, and we're going to go back into our browser. I'm going to
use that because Hottie Girl 22 is taken. So.
Yeah. I know. Trent, that was his first pick. All right, so we're going to put in the username exactly how we found it, and then we're going to put our quotes around it because we're not interested in anything else except for that at this point. So I'm going to hit Trent Carlisle just like that. So the first thing that pops up here is Trent's Twitter. We also have a few posts there. We've got an Instagram account. We do have an orthopedic surgeon from Texas who happens to, on this doctor's platform, use the same username. But as we scroll through here, we find all kinds of different links to Trent, and most of them, because of the unique username, are going to be for him, already confirmed. We don't have to sort through every single, Trent Carlisle in the United States. So that's a really solid tool.
And I'll say
another thing.
The images that pulled up are pretty timely because there's a picture in there that must have been from my Instagram, but a couple of the girls in the office and we went to a SEO talk last week, and I think I took an Instagram picture of it. Well, actually, so that looks like Kelsey had me tagged in that, maybe, but this was like a week ago. So that's a pretty timely result when you're looking at the Google image search stuff.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the thing that databases aren't going to get you, right? Like, there's no way for a database to aggregate all the information and to make it real time. Whereas, searching directly with Google is, very, very much real time. All right, so the other thing that we're going to talk about on locating accounts is going to have to do with, once you locate one account, you're going to go through and scour the account to see what kind of other information you can find. Typically one of the first places we go if we're having a hard time finding somebody's accounts, whether they have a common name or they have a lot of security stuff set up, is we're going to go through, we're going to go to their friends, and we're going to find, whatever friends that has maybe an unusual name. So this one right here, Pam Troxel. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, I'm going to find other accounts for Pam Troxel on, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, whatever platforms we're looking at, find her account, and then look at her friends and see if I can find Trent as one of her friends or contacts or whatever you're going to call it on that platform. So that's a really great way to locate accounts for people, especially when you're having a hard time and can't find them with some more of the basic stuff. Another thing that we'll touch on next has to do with going through and reading the comments to be able to establish family relationships and how they tie into to their friends and whatnot. All right, so now the next section that we're going to talk about here is how to find non-public information.
Before we get too far, sorry, I have to take a breath for a second, but there were a couple questions, or kind of the same question back in the first section there that we talked about, where we're just looking at the quotes in search, the plus and the asterisk. A couple people asked what the differentiator was between the plus and the asterisk, and from what I know is that Google will take a look at, what you have in quotes, and then the asterisk will tell it to find the pages that have what you have in quotes, and then followed by in that same page. So I guess if you put if you did Joseph Jones asterisk private investigator, it wouldn't find pages that had private investigator before Joseph Jones. Is that accurate, or do you have a different?
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. So the plus sign is going to mean I want those two terms on the same page. The asterisk means I want those two terms on the same page within 15 words of each other. So for example, in this case, it was relevant because there could be lots of news articles for like there's lots of famous people with the name Joseph Jones where it could have, a different, private investigator reference there. Whereas with that asterisk, it's saying, I want these two terms within 15 words of each other. So it makes it, more of a concrete hit that's going to be something you're interested in reading.
Yeah. And then we have another question about Facebook. Can the person in Facebook track who's looking at their profile?
So there used to be apps, and my understanding is that there's currently no way. However, if you are continually looking at somebody's Facebook page, it is going to alert them that you might be somebody that they know. So I definitely recommend you don't do any kind of social media investigations, or even if we're not talking a deep investigation like a locate, using your own personal account. It's a bad idea. So even though they might not be able to have an app that'll show me hey, this person is viewed it so many times, it could certainly pop up. And one of the things about social media is these platforms, they change constantly. So while right now there's not an app that can do it, that doesn't mean tomorrow somebody's not going to develop an app that can do it.
Yeah, the only one that I'm familiar with that kind of tells you who's looking at your profile is LinkedIn, but they build that in on purpose because they want to kind of tease you to signing up for their premium subscription there.
Right. Cool. Well, and that actually leads right into kind of my next section about. Was that all the questions?
For now, yeah, you got them all.
Okay. So that leads me right into my next section about how to find non-public information. So one of the first things you're going to want to do is create a decoy account. Right, so this is going to be, you're going to want one for each platform, but this is going to be social media profile that has none of your personal information, is not tied to your email address, is untraceable back to you. And this is important for a few reasons. I mean, obviously, the first is you don't want people having your personal information, if somehow they're able to. But if you're sending out friend requests and things like that, you can have an alter ego to use. Now, before you go create a decoy account and start friending people, you've gotta make sure that you understand a couple things. First, depending on this person's involvement with the case, you might not be able to legally send them a friend request. So if somebody is represented by an attorney and involved in a legal case, you can't reach out to them in any way, shape, or form to try and establish contact. And while there's no real precedent set yet, there's quite a bit of opinions that have been written by different bar associations and things that essentially say, yeah, you can't do that. So before you create a decoy account and start using it, you've got to understand that. The other thing is if you are using fake photos on your decoy accounts, you've got to make sure that those photos weren't taken in the United States. There has been, and it's mostly just talk. I've never heard of anybody actually getting prosecuted, but there has been talk about if you use somebody else's image that they've put on the internet and used it as your own, that could be tantamount to identity theft. Whereas people outside the United States really would have no, recourse if that happened. Again, it really probably isn't a big deal, but something to at least consider. We have a lot of different decoy accounts that do different things. So in this case, I switched to one of my female accounts that we use. This particular one I don't use a whole lot. But we do have kind of an established timeline here where we've got some posts and things that we've done. We get some friends established, so when we send out those requests, that we've got some we've got some back history on our account, so it doesn't look like we're coming out of left field. Another tip as far as this is concerned is if you have a target subject that you're trying to friend request, so let's say we've got a complaint that you're trying to serve and you're trying to get some more information out of their social media, that person likely isn't represented by counsel. So you're probably okay to send them some kind of a friend request because they don't have any protections. But you go through their account, you see, all right, this person, they were born in LA, they went to UCLA, they like these bands, whatever. So you can go through your account and you can change your personal information to be the same as theirs. I live in LA, I went to UCLA, we like the same bands. So when you send that friend request and they give your profile a quick look, they think, oh, I must know this person. I'll go ahead and accept them. Certainly it doesn't work all the time, but it works a heck of a lot of the time. Now, the other thing to do when you are doing that is you can, before you friend them, you can go and find out who some of their friends are and do the same thing with their friend. So that way you have, when they send their friend request, it'll show, oh, you're already friends with 3 of the same people, which increases your probability that they're going to accept that friend request. Now, another thing to keep in mind as far as that's concerned, if you've got a subject that you can't send a friend request to, one thing to keep in mind is that you are not barred from making friends with their friends, and a lot of times friends of friends have a little bit deeper level of access than just somebody off of the street. So another thing to keep in mind there. All right, so decoy accounts, we're being careful. Okay, so now there is a really cool tool that I'm going to teach you guys about. I'm not going to show you the tool because the guy who came up with it, he put a lot of work into it, and I want you to go to his website. So this is the website, Intel Techniques. This tool we're going to use, it is free, that he'll give to you if you do a training with him and sign up for his thing. It's a very, very neat tool. Here's the website. If you are interested in learning more about open source searching, which is what OSINT stands for, and other social media type stuff, he's got some really great trainings available. It's pretty reasonable if you're going to be doing them pretty often. So this is his website you can go through. But basically what this tool does is it allows us to search within Facebook for things that aren't necessarily tagged as private, but that don't show up on their information. So I found this individual's Facebook profile as an example. I have no idea who she is. She's not tied to any of my investigations, so I thought it'd be a good example. So this is Karen. And let's say we're trying to track Karen down. We're trying to learn more about her. We want to, serve her. We want to do some surveillance on her. So we find her Facebook profile here. We're going to scroll through here, and there's really, as we go through, there's a post from January where she was posting about, chicken, and then everything else is like from 2013. There's really not a whole lot of usable information on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this tool, which if you go and if you do Michael's trainings, he teaches you how to do some of it and gives you some shortcuts. So we're going to use this tool to search within Facebook to find other stuff, that isn't on her profile. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to look for photos that she has been tagged in. So I guess here first I'll show you what is on her profile. This is really the only photo here that's of any use. So I'm going to do photos of tagged. So we're going to drag this screen over here now. So I used this tool, and so now I have more photos that she didn't post, but somebody else posted and tagged her in. So this one we already know about. This one is especially interesting because we see Karen in this photo, but it was posted by Ashworth Vision Clinic where she was tagged in. So now we have two things. One, we have another picture of her to help us with our surveillance, and let's say her original photo was of a cat, so we still don't know what she looks like. But using this tool, we now have this photo where we've got a photo of her, and what does this look? This looks like a Christmas card from a business that was posted by Ashworth Vision Clinic. So now we have a really good lead that Karen probably works at the Ashworth Vision Clinic. Now we'll go kind of to this next one here and see. All right, so she was tagged in it as as one of these little girls. Obviously, she's not the little girl. But these are likely granddaughters or something along those lines. So we're going to close that, and then the last one I'll show you here is kind of cool because when we go and we look at it, that's obviously not her, but she says this is for you, Mom, and then tags Karen in that post. So we know now that this is Karen's daughter. So if we're trying to track her down, now we know who her daughter is. We can use that as another lead to aid us in our investigation. Let's see, the next thing we're going to do here, photo comments. So this is another really neat one. We'll drag this. So this is going to be any photos that Karen has commented on Facebook, on other people's pages. So this will not show up anywhere on her timeline, but it's going to scour all of Facebook anytime she's made a comment, which can be very invaluable when you're trying to learn more information about a subject. We can go through. I guess frankly we could go through and we could. Let me close that nastiness. One of the things you have to be aware of. A lot of times when you're doing investigations, you're dealing with the underbelly of society, and because of that, and you're spending all your time looking at their pages, you're going to get ads for all kinds of nasty stuff because it thinks that's the kind of person you are. So anyways, little tip there. All right, so this one, we can go through and click on this and we can see, all right, this one says great picture. We don't care that she thinks it was a great picture. Let me bring that thing. I just closed it. Photos. Let's see. And there's one here that I wanted to show you guys that I found. Let's see if I have it. All right, so I won't go through and find it, but as I was scrolling through these in preparation for this, I found one of these photos. She had made a comment to somebody, hey, on one of their photos, hey, great photo. I can't wait to see you next week when I come and visit. So if you're doing so in that circumstance, if you're trying to track somebody down to get them served or to do surveillance and you're having a heck of a time figuring out where they're at, you could now use that to maybe track down that person, show up at their house to get surveillance done, or getting documents served. We've used that hundreds of times. As we're dealing with evasive people, we won't sit on their house for 20 hours. We'll just figure out where they go to church, where they go to their association meetings, where their kids play soccer. So there's a wealth of information there. And then the last thing that I'll show you that is really neat, display. All right, so this one's pretty neat because this one will help you learn a lot about people. So this is going to be photos that have been liked by Karen. So Karen has gone through, she's read one of these things, and she said, wow, that's something that, I like. So in this one, she put a thing about the Bible, so she's obviously religious. If you think, let's see. Oh yeah, so she really likes Bush. She doesn't like Obama. So you can go through and learn tons and tons about people based on this, which wouldn't show up anywhere else if you were searching for it. And this is going to be especially useful if you're doing an actual social media investigation where you're trying to establish what their character is, what kinds of things they're involved with. So it can be really an invaluable tool. Has there been any questions on that portion?
There is. I will ask the question, but I'll first say that we'll include a link to the inteltechniques.com website. Definitely encourage you all to check out what they have to offer. Joe showed me real time the other day when we were kind of doing a run through pretty much everything that he showed you here. I saw the interface and kind of how it works and just how quickly you can pull up all these things that Joe referenced, photos they're tagged in, photos they comment on. I think that's when we came across that photo of a gal had taken a picture of herself, and the subject here responded and said, "Oh, I'll see you in a couple weeks," whatever. So really, really powerful stuff. But the question is, and I think it sort of relates to what you just walked us through. But the question is, any suggestions for a profile that is locked down? I'm assuming as private as you can make it on Facebook, where you can't see any data. Does a tool like this help out with that?
So if you're trying to secure your own account?
Well, no. They're looking for a person who's pretty much made everything private on Facebook. Can't be tagged in photos.
Yeah. So this is the tool you want, because what the person, when they set their security settings, what they can control is what they post goes out there. So you can say, I'm posting this photo, but I don't want anybody to see it. But you can't control what other people are posting, and tagging you on. I guess there is a way to do it, but you have to be super hyper vigilant with it, and most people don't. And also, things like commenting on posts and liking things. That those settings, as far as I'm aware, people can't stop that becoming public information, because it's not stored on their account, it's stored on the other person's account. So the only way to get rid of that is to delete your account. So this tool is perfect for that.
Yeah, that's the only that was the only question. So.
Okay, great. And it's important to recognize anytime you're dealing in one of these kinds of cases. When you're doing the social media, there is no one-size-fits-all solution, and there's nothing that works 100% of the time. And one of the reasons we've become very well known for what we do is because we've been doing it so long, and we've learned all kind of the ins and outs. And there's about 100 different things you can do. But in a 45-minute session, this is the best tool that I could give you for that kind of thing.
Right.
All right, so we've got just a few minutes left here. So what I'm gonna talk about now deals in actual social media investigations. So a lot of what we've talked about here can be utilized, for a lot of different purposes. Trying to track somebody down, just trying to generate some leads for your locate, your surveillance, whatever. But when you're talking about a social media investigation, which I'm going to define that as something where you're looking for content relevant to a case that you're going to send to an attorney, there's a lot more that you need to do than just finding something and printing it off of the internet or sending them a link to. When we're working on investigations, and we do, surveillance is something we do a fair amount of, but one of the things that we've found that has been a lot better for our clients is doing social media investigations, where instead of going and doing 100 hours of surveillance to watch them doing jumping jacks in the front yard, we're going to go onto their social media accounts and find where they're posting themselves going out and doing the jumping jacks in the front yard. And we find it super efficient because it's a lot less time, so it allows our clients to do more investigation when they usually might not have the budget for a lot of surveillance, and we're able to access information that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get. Surveillance is not going to tell you, what the person had for breakfast, but their social media accounts probably are. Not that we even care about what they're eating for breakfast, but you get the idea. So the key is, when you're doing social media investigations, you have to learn how to find the information. It's not always simple. Sometimes, if you have a profile like Trent's where he has everything public, maybe it's going to be easy. But you've got to learn the techniques to really get in and find everything that's out there. The other thing is, you have to extract the metadata out of those posts so you can prove who, when, where, and why. So I could, for anybody attending the seminar, I could in 5 minutes create a profile that looks like it's your profile, and I could start making terrorist threats on it. And then that's going to create a problem for you, right? Because the FBI or whoever it is, they're going to start tracking it down. But one of the things that they're going to do is they're going to look who created that account, when they created it, and that's where the metadata comes into play. And so if you jump the gun and say, hey, look at all this we found, then you can't really prove who posted it. And it's a lot more in depth than that, but it gives you an idea of why you've got to pull out the metadata. Also, it's very easy for somebody to delete a post. So if you just have a print screen of something and you try to present that as evidence in court, then you're going to come up with a piece of paper, and then they could say, well, who posted that? When did they post it? Can you prove it wasn't photoshopped? Let's go online right now and look at it. Well, I don't see it there. Who made that up? Whereas when you're, extracting the metadata and forensically preserving those, then you're going to be able to, actually use it in court. We don't have enough time to go into that right now. Kind of to all the facets of how that works. There's a lot of softwares out there. There's a lot of methods that you can do to do that. But keep in mind, all of these things are really expensive. So unless you're ready to become certified and pay for thousands of dollars for training in databases, it might be best to tell the client, hey, I found something that looks like it might be relevant to your case, but you're going to need an expert to go in and grab it all. And that is something that we can do to help. Like I said, most of our clients are law firms, but we do work with other investigators, other process servers who need help in this area and don't have the times, the means, or the knowledge to to do these kind of things themselves. I guess one last thing that probably should have gone in the other section, but there is, contrary to popular belief, there is no way, at least that I know of, and I've done a heck of a lot of training and spent a lot of time doing it, there's no way to find posts that have been deleted. Is gone from a social media profile, it's gone, unless you have already forensically preserved it. There are some methods that we use if we think somebody has a high probability of deleting stuff, to grab it real time as they post it. But once it's gone, it's gone. So unless you have active monitoring on somebody's account, which we do on our cases, if we have a case going, we'll leave active monitoring. And I just had one actually like last week, where the person posted something while we were in the middle of our investigation that was absolutely detrimental to their case. They deleted it about 2 minutes later, but because we had active collection up, we grabbed it as soon as they posted it, and so now they're going to pay dearly for that. But there's no way if I had just seen it and then said, oh, I should go grab that, and then come back an hour later and it was gone, we would have been out of luck. anyways, that's I think we're at about the 45-minute mark now. So I don't know. Was there any other questions on that?
I don't see any questions right now, but we'll start to wrap it up. And if any questions come through, I'll definitely take a look at those. But I want to thank you, Joe. I think this is a good place to stop. I think this has been very valuable, especially in the context of I'm a process server. I'm looking for a little bit more intel. I want to be more efficient in my job. I want to be smarter versus just sitting out there and waiting hours and hours and hours for the subject to show up. There's so much information you can get about what people do, where they go, what their patterns are, where they work, who they're friends with. Major advantages there, for service of process, investigations, etc. If you want to take it to the next level, certainly look at some of the resources that Joe is providing us and contact him as well. And Joe, you want to go ahead and give out your email if people want to get a hold of you?
Yeah. So it's just joe@boscolegal.org. I'm sure Trent can put it with the materials at the end.
Sure.
Certainly, if you're getting stuck on something and you have a question, I'd be happy to help. If you're trying to get deeper into this on your own, let me know. We can give you some resources. Or if you're looking to outsource this kind of work to somebody else, we could certainly help with that as well.
Joe, this has been great, amazing content. Thank you so much for being here today, for supporting process serving investigation industry, and also the ServeNowEDU initiative. As a reminder to the folks that are out there, this will be available on ServeNow.com probably in the next day or so. You'll also be able to find it on YouTube, iTunes, and Joe, thanks again. We really appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome.